What up guys, SuperMetal983 here bringing us another album review, and this time I've got a very good EP for you, and this one is vastly becoming one of my favourite EPs of 2018. I mean, we've had so many good EPs released in 2018 that this one has to join the ranks up there as being one of the best, if you ask me. And we're going to be talking about the new Acrania EP entitled Tyrannical Hierarchy Volume 1. This is a self-released EP. Now, if you're from the UK and you're into the world of deathcore, you've probably heard of Acrania and are very familiar with them. They have grown to become one of the most iconic bands in the deathcore circuit in the UK. It all began really with the release of their debut EP in 2013 entitled The Beginning of the End. Now, this EP, when it initially came out, I fell in love with. I think this is still one of the best EPs that the UK deathcore circuit has offered over the years, and it's still on repeat a lot these days. And if you want to know, this is the repress through Uniquely Records, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, but this is an outstanding EP. If you haven't checked this out, definitely do so. It is a relentless listen, if you ask me. But later on, in 2014, they signed to Uniquely Records and released their full-length album, which is called Totalitarian Dystopia. Now, this album I reviewed on the channel about a year or two ago, something like that, as just an oddball review that I just wanted to talk about. So if you want a more in-depth discussion and review on the album, I'll leave a link down below. But this album is an absolutely sick album, and still another release that has been quite a fair bit, if I'm honest. Like, both releases I generally blast quite a lot. I think this band in general puts out relentless releases and such enjoyable releases that I can't help but put them on and enjoy the living shit out of them. But yeah, this album is absolutely fantastic. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do, especially the song Festering with Dishonesty. Yeah, that is definitely my favourite song on the album. But then, obviously, it's been 4 years since the release of that album, and the band in that time has gone through various lineup changes, and they decided to call it quits. I can't remember when it was exactly, but they did one final performance, which was last year, 2016, at Fall in the Brawl as a farewell show, you could say. The plans were to perform their debut EP in full at that festival, but unfortunately with different things coming up they couldn't do it. But they did put on a hell of a show, and after the festival they promised a final EP, and I was really excited when they announced that there was going to be one more release before the end of Acrania, and a lot of hype build up for it. They dropped the first single and I was really impressed with it. I was like, yep, this is going to be something very special. Then they dropped the second single and I was like, yeah, this one is going to be on repeat quite a lot. And there and behold, they announced that they were bringing out the EP Tyrannical Hierarchy Volume 1, which we'll get to Volume 1 bit in a second. But yeah, from release day when it was released, and also I pre-ordered as soon as I could, as soon as the pre-orders went up on Rise and Merch, which do still have CDs, tapes, merch and flags and all that linked down below, so you can pick up a copy. Make sure you do so. Pre-ordered my copy. I'm still waiting on that coming, but probably by the time this video goes up, the CD should be here in my hands, but we'll see what happens in the upcoming future. But anyway, but since then, obviously, with Spotify and YouTube these days, I did manage to listen to it, and I've listened to this EP probably about 16, 17 times already since its release, and that just highlights why, like, how much I love this EP. I think this EP sits perfectly in line with the rest of Acrania's discography, as in overall sound. I think they haven't changed the recipe all that much. I know there's a lot of people complaining about, oh, it's boring, or it's shit, it's not Acrania, or this is them going out on a bad whim and stuff like that, which I completely disagree with, because I think this EP has the recipe and everything you need in an Acrania release. It's got blistering vocals, heavy, chunky, as if beat down modern age deathcore slam elements in there, relentless drumming. Are you asking for any more? I mean, Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the vocals, they're not as chaotic and as relentless as they have been on Totalitarian Dystopia, for example, or The Beginning of the End, but I do still feel like they have a lot of relentless to them, and the lyrical flows from Luke Griffin are absolutely astounding. I mean, he is definitely one of the best vocalists in the UK metal circuit in general, with his blistering sort of speed rap sort of influenced vocals, which are definitely unique to Luke Griffin, and he's brought those. If this is going to be the final EP of Acrania, in my personal opinion, I think he goes out guns ablaze, and I think his relentless lyrical patterns are just precise, and obviously everyone knows him through his vocals as well. Obviously the Brie meme has become a thing in the UK metal circuit, and even in general in the core world, you could say. But his lows are still monstrous and very energetic, you could say, to an extent. They're very pumped with anger and animosity, but then the highs are definitely vicious and sharp. That's one thing that I've always loved about Luke Griffin's highs. Has always been they're very, very sharp and grip you, like they give you shivers when you hear them. And then obviously what gives them more of a shivering factor is another factor that I've already talked about just there, is pig squeals or breeze or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, his pig squeals are relentless and overpowering and just obnoxious as hell, and I absolutely love it. I've always loved Luke Griffin's vocals, whether it's been in this or Human Error or Scribe of Existence, which I would like to see some more stuff from Scribe of Existence, because I really enjoyed that stuff. But anyway, and then we move on to Jack's guitar and bass work on this release, and everyone knows Jack through obviously Acrania, but he's also worked with the likes of Hollow Prophet, and obviously his most well-known stuff has to be Slaughter Prevail nowadays. But his guitar work has always been incredible. He's a riff master, if you ask me, in deathcore. He can pump out some of the most relentless and most punishing riffs that you just want to absolutely kill every motherfucker inside to it. It's an absolute, no pun intended, but it's an absolute beatdown of riffs on this EP, if you ask me, and it sits perfectly in line. It's not dwelling away from the original recipe that they've been combinating with the likes of their EP and their album before this. But I definitely feel like there's still a little bit of a technical aspect being added into there, like kind of in a sense of like old school technical brutal death metal sort of influence, or you could say Rings of Saturn for more modern people, but it's kind of originated in old school technical brutal death metal with the pinch harmonic runs and stuff like that. It just sounds really fucking good, if you ask me. And then Jake Hadley, sorry, I keep on saying that every take I've done on this review I've said Jack, so unfortunate about that. But yeah, Jake Hadley's drumming is absolutely relentless and very fast and very punishing, if you ask me. And quite frankly, his work on this has just been absolutely relentless, and I can't fathom how good it is. It's fast, it's punishing, and that's how it's meant to be. But there's groove in there as well, which I really do enjoy about a good deathcore release. It has to have some groovy elements that makes you bop your head along to it. And this one is definitely one of those type of releases, if you ask me. And Jake done an absolutely outstanding job on the drums, if you ask me. And then we move on to the guest appearances, and it's only on one track, and that is the second track they released, called Gagged with Propaganda, and it features CJ McCreary, obviously now from Lorna Shore, but formerly of Signs of the Swarm, obviously lending his hand of the gut-wrenching, filthy, disgusting, putrid laws that he does, lending those on hand for this is just, it's just putridly filthy. And then to add even more filth to it, we have Bender of Shadow of Intent and also of Hollow Prophet as well, lending his hand, and his vocals are just, every time I listen to them, I fall in love with them even more, and it's just so vicious, absolutely vicious vocal performance. Now that track, for all it's only quite a short one, it's only 2 minutes 24 seconds, that's pretty short, but in that short space of time, you just get an absolute pummeling, and there's no way of stopping it. I mean, throughout the course of this EP, it is relentless, it's pummeling, it's skull crushing. What more could you ask for? From the first track, you know exactly what you're in for. From when that first note kicks in, it's just like, alright, my body is ready. And there's one other thing I'd like to add about the first track. There's a little line in the center of the track which just says, feed them to the fucking pigs. Now that, I feel like, is a very unique line, because it kind of connects to the last track on Totalitarian Dystopia, which is called Delusion in a Discordant System, which obviously has the famous line, send them to the slaughterhouse. So I kind of feel like that's a bit of a connection link, which I feel was very unique. I don't know if that was actually planned, but it more than likely is, but it's a great feature to add on there, if you ask me. We haven't talked about the other tracks on this. The Face of Humanity, which in my opinion is the best work from Jake. His relentless drumming on that track. It's just a literal non-stop brutal assault on there, if you ask me. It's just blast beats everywhere, fast drumming, and it's never going to let you go. It literally, from the minute it kicks in, from the first second it kicks in, it doesn't let go. It's just holding on to you and never lets go. And then absolute annihilation in the last song called The Isolation Experiment. Just it's just filthy, just a filthy release. And then End One, the last little breakdown, you could say, the echoes of Acrania's last ditch effort is just right there. And this is my question now: is this going to be the last Acrania EP? With them putting Volume 1 at the end of this, I'm kind of hoping that there is a Volume 2 planned for in the upcoming future, or Acrania maybe becomes a studio project, I don't know. But this release is absolutely relentless, and definitely one of my favourite EPs of the year. I'm definitely going to, I've obviously got my top albums to do. I think I'm going to have to do a top EPs check here, because there's been so many great EPs. Obviously Next Silver comes to mind straight away, and a bunch of other bands that have released fantastic EPs in 2018, that it's going to be hard to differ which one has been my favourite EP of the year. But at this very second, Tyrannical Hierarchy Volume 1 is definitely my favourite so far, and for that reason alone, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. The only reason I'm not giving it as 10 is because it teases us a little bit with that Volume 1. It's making us think, is there going to be a Volume 2 in the future? And I hope to God there is. So yeah, I'm definitely going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. Excellent release, and for all the Acrania fans who said this is boring, or even anyone who just said this is boring, what's wrong here? If you loved either of these releases from Acrania, Totalitarian Dystopia or the beginning of the end, you'll find something to enjoy about this. I think it's absolutely fantastic and sits perfectly in their discography. So make sure you check out the Acrania EP. I'll leave links down below where you can check out. I think the songs is, Exterminate the Liberated and Gagged with Propaganda. I'll leave those two tracks down below, and if they're releasing another one, I'll put it down there. But I'll also be a link to the full EP stream, which I can't remember what the YouTube channel, what's being put on off the top of my head, but that will be down there, as well as a link to me review of Totalitarian Dystopia. But yeah, solid 9 out of 10, and I've got a couple of videos planned for the upcoming future. And thanks to everyone who checked out my recent gig footage from Fall in the Brawl. I really appreciate it. And I've broke 900 subscribers, which absolutely blows my mind. And I can't thank you enough for that. So more videos are coming very soon. And I'll see you until the next video. And remember, stay metal, and I'll see you later.